Hey guys, so unfortunately the audio was lost on these first two fish, so I'm going to kind of do a voiceover and explain what's going on in the clips, just so it's not a bunch of weird silence. So I'm fishing on this big open sand flat. I'm tossing a little finesse swim bait. So I do one cast with it, I get a little bit of retrieve in, then all of a sudden get a smallmouth. It immediately jumps out of the water. So I loosen up the drag quite a bit just because I really want to make sure I get this fish in. So I play him a little bit more than I would with other fish, but again, I just really wanted to make sure that he was going to come into the boat. So now we're floating into a pretty big patch of weeds, which is making me a bit nervous. It's a pretty small 3/0 hook, and I only have 8-pound test on, and so I'm worried that he's going to break me off or get tangled in the weeds and pull my lure out of his mouth. And so I kind of start to tighten up on the drag a bit more and start to try and bring him away from the weeds and closer to my boat. Finally, I get him in the net, and I have my first fish in 3 days, and I am overjoyed. It's definitely not the biggest smallmouth I've caught, and not the biggest one I've had hooked on this river, but after losing 5 big fish, I'm pretty happy to catch anything. And luckily, I was able to keep my lure intact, which I was very happy about. Fish isn't the biggest, probably 14, 15 inches, but they fight so hard, anything's fun on light tackle. And also, for his length, he's a pretty fat fish. I'm used to smallmouth that are a bit leaner than the ones that you find on the river. So just want to make sure he's all set to go and he swims off to be caught another day. So again, I'm pretty happy right now. So I'm just kind of positioning myself back up onto the sand flat during the course of the fight with that fish. That one kind of blew me down a bit from where I'd like to be. So I'm just paddling back up the river to where I think the fish will be. So I decided I'm just going to stick with what works. So I'm just going to keep throwing that finesse swim bait that I caught that first fish on. So I head up to the spot. Grab my rod. Get ready to make a cast. My lure hits the water. About 2 seconds later, I have another fish on the line. The fish hit my lure as soon as it entered the water. I must have put it right on top of its head. Gotta make sure I'm ready with the net for when this fish gets close to the boat. Now the fish is starting to go behind my boat, so I turn around to try and keep my lines from getting tangled. I try and turn, I lose my balance, I almost fall into the St. Lawrence River. This isn't my most graceful fight, but it turned out okay in the end. And just as was the first fish, the wind has now blown us off of the sand flat and into a pretty serious patch of weeds. And so I'm starting to tighten up on the drag some more and trying to get the fish closer to the boat and away from those weeds. I always get nervous when the fish is near the net, 'cause that's usually when they come off, but was able to get them in the net and successfully land them. Again, not the biggest fish I've ever caught. Definitely a bit fatter than the one before. About the same length though. But it was a great fight. It was great to catch some fish. Unfortunately, the audio messed up somehow. But on the third fish of the day that I caught, the audio worked. So I'll let the audio play on that third clip and you guys can see it. But here I am just saying that for the size of this fish, it's pretty fat. And then we let him go.
Oh. Here he comes, here he comes. Oh, nice largemouth, nice largemouth. Nice largemouth. Nice. Pull all you want, bud. I'm right here. The fight's so much easier with largemouth, you know. The fight's just so much easier. Oh, chunky. Chunky largemouth. God, he's fat. That's a fat fish. Oh, beauty. Again, probably like a 16, 17, but fat. Fat fish. Okay. That was fun. 3 fish, 2 smallmouth, a nice largemouth. God, I think better than that.